Some of you may recognize this old jalopy from whenever we install the rapid ramps. A few of you even beat me up on installing this on a rotted floor. I'm going to tell you, this floor is not so much rotten as it is highly experienced, but we're going to take these ramps off today. We're going to install a new floor because it's time. I didn't have time to do it before, but we're going to make the time to do it today. So let's get started. We'll get the old Ranger off here today because it needs some help too. Gonna have to put some CV shafts in it. So once we get this off, we'll get the saw and start making some splinters. Now we'll get the gas wrench out, get the tailboard off of it. Whether you have some hex head self drillers like this one has, or bolts, carriage head bolts, I've seen about everything. You got to get them out regardless. So pop all the screws out. Luckily this one don't have very many. It's got a little wiggle waggle to it. Now I would recommend getting an old coffee can, hanging onto all these screws, and you can leave it to maybe your grandkids' inheritance one of these days. They'll be pumped. We got one broke off in there. That's gonna be fun. You know, I almost hate to pull this out. To some of you, this may look like junk, trash, burn pile material, rotten wood, whatever you want to call it, but some people will give $5 a board foot for this stuff to put in their man cave, make as a headboard or for an accent wall. So, I don't know. I'll take $2.50 a board foot for it. Just reach out to me. Leave it in the comments below. So on this one, it wasn't that it's rotted, it had just actually separated on the inside. This wood is actually still very dense. You know, for what I was doing, this would have lasted still a long time. But this wood, even though it looks rough on the top, it's still very dense. It's still pretty heavy, even though it's dried out. It's probably, you know, there's no probably, this wood would have been better than what we're probably fixing to put in it, I can say that. You know, and when it comes to a trailer floor, I know it may be intimidating as far as getting it out, putting new screws, you know, finding the proper stuff to put on it to protect it to get the most life out of it. But for me, the hardest part about putting a trailer floor in from a 5x8 trailer all the way up to a 40-foot deck over and larger is going and finding good lumber. It's pretty tough to do. If you buy treated lumber, they're different widths. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. It's a sad day, but that's just the way lumber is. You just got to dig through the pile. That's what I've done today. I went to a big box store to get this lumber, and I had to pick through a bunch of boards to get the best, worst ones that I could find. We went ahead and cleaned up all the wells from the tail cap removal. Not sure what they used. Pretty sure they used maybe the worst 6011 soaked rod they could find. It was terrible. But go ahead and clean that up now before you put your wood in so that you don't damage or catch your new wood on fire. And this will be a good time to look at the substructure. I've already swept all the dirt and vegetation off this. Pretty sure I found a couple of cottonwood saplings and maybe a row or two of Johnson grass. But get all that crap cleaned out, and this is where you need to make a decision. You know, I've had some people ask, do we come in and sand this off? Do we come in with a flat disc, clean it up, maybe put some rust preventative, maybe some paint? And absolutely, this would be the time to do that. For my purposes, this is my personal trailer. I'm not going to do that. This trailer is like me. It's old and high mileage, but once I put this in, I'm not worried about it. There is some rust on here, but it's not deep. It's not really corroded, and it's probably gonna outlive me, to be honest. So I'm just gonna put the floor in, but if you wanna go ahead and paint your substructure, go ahead and do that now. Make sure that cures before you put the new wood in it. You know, I said earlier, like, the hardest thing about a trailer floor, in my opinion, is sourcing the wood. That may or may not be correct. You know, I got to thinking the hardest thing to find maybe is that bad boy right there. That is a self-tapping, not self-drilling, self-tapping floor screw. I have people ask all the time, where can I find these? And I will say they are tough to find online, but you're in luck. I know a place that you can get these, and that's where the sponsor of today's video comes in, eTrailer. So something you're gonna need to look at once you pull your flooring out is if you need any wiring, any suspension work, any of that, that's a good time to do it and look at it right now because it's all exposed. This one we've already done a rewire. We've actually upgraded the axles and suspension on this several years ago, so we're good there, but I can physically see everything. But whether you're doing a trailer restoration, scheduled maintenance, or a breakdown, check out eTrailer. They would have anything you would need on this other than the decking to repair this, from tires and wheels, bearings, axle springs, trailer floor screws, and these are rated for treated lumber. I'm not a fan, like I said, of the self-drilling. I like self-tapping, so you will need to use a drill bit with a 7/32 drill bit to drill the hole, and a T30. You can also find those tools on eTrailer as well to make your installation easier. If you've seen the ramps that we took off in the beginning of the video, you can upgrade your ramps to the rapid ramp, or they have other solutions if you're needing a replacement ramp or something that better fits your needs. So be sure to go to eTrailer, look at their website. They're gonna have a lot. Lights, like I said, I can't name everything. There's too much on there, so go spend some time on there. You're gonna need a break from what your floor is torn out anyways. Go in there and get you a cold drink and order you some trailer parts, because like I said, the funnest part about fixing a trailer is buying trailer parts, right? So check them out. We're gonna get on with it. We're gonna start putting the decking in and get this one wrapped up. The width I'm using here is a 2x8. You can use a 2x6. It's really just preference when it comes to that. I like the 2x8. They just seem a little straighter. I don't like really going beyond the width of a 2x8. That being said, you may want to measure the inside of your trailer to see how it's going to work out. Now, that being said, when you go to buy your lumber, it's not all going to be the same width. The width of this 2x8 ranges anywhere from 7 1/4. I had a few that were about 7 5/8. So you have to, you know, and they're going to shrink. This one I don't have to cut any length. I'm lucky. It's about 16 feet ½ inch, so it's going to fit perfect in here. You may have to trim length depending on what you have. Just make sure you don't cut it too short, because I have seen these shrink, you know, ½ inch. That's nothing. It's just the wood we get today is not what it once was. Not going to get into the debate whether you put the bark side up or bark side down. That's some research and science you need to delve into. With the wood I get today, I put the best side up, and sometimes both sides are horrible, so we put the best worst side up, honestly. But bark side up, bark side down is just to contend with cupping. So I always like to try to put it to where it's not going to cup, but you know, you may have a terrible looking piece of wood and just something you have to live with. I'm gonna drag the rest of these boards on there, and we're gonna get the drill out. We're gonna get the drilling holes and put some screws in so we can get this wrapped up. So getting one to work out exact can be tough. On this one, I went ahead and pulled one 2x8 out. I'm gonna utilize a 2x6 that I picked up along with a 2x4, and it's gonna fit just about perfect. You may have to spread it out. That's what I use a wedge for. You can spread it out, pop your screws in, put your last board in, but you may have to rip one down to get it exact, like I said, because the wood is untrue. But once we get the last board in, we'll be about ready to pull some string lines and start putting some screws in the floor. Now, when this floor dries out, you're gonna have some gaps. So depending on how big of a gap you want is how tight you need to install it in the beginning. Most of the time, I squeeze the boards in pretty tight, whether that be from the center out, pop the screws in, then final fit the last board, or you can shim it this way. This one fits pretty snug already, and I'm gonna want a little gap on mine because I'm gonna wash some stuff off on it, and I want that to be able to go through the floor. So that's really a preference. Like cattle trailers, stock trailers, we leave gaps in those anywhere from 1/2 inch and larger. So I'm gonna leave this one as it is. This only had one row of screws in it to start with. That is enough to hold the floor in because you have your front cap, you have your tail cap, and one row of screws, which is enough. I'm gonna put 3 rows of screws. I normally at least put 2 if it's a short trailer, or 3 or more if it's a larger trailer, just to keep it from banging, make it a little quieter going down the road. But that's just, it's your trailer, you do what you wanna do on that, but I'm gonna put 3 rows on this one. We are gonna use the trailer self-tapping, not self-drilling, but self-tapping, which we will leave a link in the description below to eTrailer where you can find these. And these are rated for treated lumber, which is important. If you use the wrong screw in these, it can prematurely corrode it out. So I'm gonna use a good sharp drill bit, and you can use some type of lubricant just to help you drill through. And if you want to, you can put just a little bit of lube on the screws. Sometimes we do that depending on how thick the substructure is, just to help it tap in. I don't like to deep dive them. I like to sink them a little bit. You know, I've had the question asked before, can we use the existing holes in there? And technically, I guess you could. That would be very tough to try to get that lined up. I'm always just gonna put new screws. It's not gonna hurt the integrity of the substructure. Even if you put 2 or 3 floors in it, a round hole in something usually doesn't hurt anything. And a lot of the times with a trailer floor screw, a lot of the times you have to break those off to get them out. They don't unthread. So I'm just gonna make new holes. Well, all we like is finishing up. 48 screws to go. We're almost there. Then we'll weld our new top cap on the rear. Probably going to use 1/4 inch, 3/16, not any thinner than 3/16. Probably going to use whatever I got laying around out back, to be honest. Get that welded on, painted up. Then we'll reinstall our rapid ramp. Be sure to check out the video in the link in the description below. Maybe you're interested in rapid ramp or you don't know all about it. Show us installing it actually on this trailer. This is a project you can DIY with just some basic tools. If you don't have these tools, you may have to go out and get you some tools. Make sure that you keep your floor in good shape. Once this dries out, it will need some type of top coat on it, some type of waterproof or protected to get more years of service out of there. Tighten the lug nuts and keep on rolling. We'll see you soon.